Hey everybody, Cole here with Classic Mini DIY, and today's episode is the top 10 tools guide for your Classic Mini garage. So if you're looking for the right tools to get yourself started and get working on your Classic Mini, stay tuned. Today's episode is brought to you by you. That's right. Every single episode created on Classic Mini DIY is made with the help of our patrons and our long-term part sponsor, 7 Mini Parts. If you want to see more mini stuff and more videos in the future, please consider supporting the channel on patreon.com/Classic Mini DIY or by checking out some of my awesome merch like t-shirts, stickers, and all sorts of other really cool stuff at merch.classicminidiy.com. All right, let's get back to the episode. So on today's episode, I'm going to offer up my top 10 tools that I would use and I would purchase before getting out and working on your car. And if you guys think maybe there's some additional tools that you would want to recommend, feel free to post those in the comments section below. All the tools that I'm going to be listing out in this video, I will have affiliate links in my description for those. So if you want to help out the channel while you're purchasing those tools, click on those links before you pick them up, and I get a small kickback associated with that, which helps this channel continue on and grow, and I can take on larger projects in the future. Now, there's one more thing I want to mention before we get into the top 10 tools, and that is a new resource, one that I've been working on for quite some time, and I've had some really awesome help from some of my patrons. Thank you so much, Josh, for helping to contribute to this site. I have something called the Classic Mini DIY Digital Toolset. This website is intended to provide you guys a free resource to get all sorts of technical information on your Classic Minis, whether it's torque specs, electrical diagrams, an SU needle comparison chart, and all sorts of other really cool stuff. This website is something that I do work on the side, and I do intend to keep this free forever. I don't have any intention to charge for any of the information on this website. But we are launching a new portion of the site called the Recommended Tools section, where you'll find the top 10 tools that I have here, as well as a ton of different other recommended tools that you might want to buy as you start to expand your tool set and expand your skill set on your Classic Mini. So I really want to encourage you guys to go check that out, and if you have any questions about it, or maybe you see a bug on the website, feel free to send me an email at classicminidiy@gmail.com or post a comment in the comment section below. I'll try and get those sorted out as quickly as I can. Now, let's jump into the top 10 tools for your Classic Mini, starting with number 10. Number 1 is a pretty simple one, and that is a small drip tray that sits underneath the engine of your Classic Mini. Many people think and are aware that the Mini does like to shed oil a good bit. And this is something to help keep your garage floor clean, but also to help you identify any leaks or issues you might have with your Classic Mini. Now, when you inevitably do get a leak in your Classic Mini, the nice thing about a drip tray is that you're always going to be able to tell where that drip is coming from, because you'll start to see it collect and fall in certain spots on the drip tray, and then you can kind of look up and identify where that's coming from on your engine. It's nice to have this, and then it's also nice because it does help prevent issues and oil seepage into. This also has a nice secondary effect of keeping your garage floor clean and keeping oil from seeping down into that. Now, the next tool we have here is a ball peen hammer. This is one of those tools that is really, really underrated. You know, a lot of people joke and say hammers are a really nice thing to have in the garage, but I cannot stress enough how nice it is to have a good ball peen hammer. However, in my case, I only have this one single 24-ounce ball peen hammer. This thing serves pretty much all of my needs, whether it's from gearbox rebuilds to small hammering jobs that I need to do in the car. This is a little bit better than a hook hammer that you might find in a carpenter's toolkit. That can be used for other things, but this is more targeted towards automotive mechanics. Now, this next tool is something that's received a surprisingly large amount of use, so I wanted to add it to the list, and that's a ball joint splitter. This tool is used to separate the hub from the upper ball joint and the lower ball joint on your wheel. And this is one of those tools that has a few different types that are on the market. This is my favorite style because it's more of a pressing motion, like a hydraulic press, and it has a tendency to last longer and be a lot more effective at separating that upper and lower ball joint. So this is one tool that I would definitely recommend picking up for your Classic Mini. Now, as we're getting into more specialized tools, the next one I want to share with you guys is a timing light. This tool is used to set the timing on your Classic Mini, or any car for that matter, and I strongly recommend picking up one that has the ability to read out the RPM and speed of your engine. This is going to allow you to set the timing advance on your Classic Mini at whatever speed and whatever engine RPM you'd like that advance to be set at. This is something that is one of the best ways to get your Mini running better than it was when you pick it up, when you purchase it, something like that. A lot of times Minis are out of time, and this tool is a godsend to have in your gearbox and your toolbox. Now this next tool is for folks that have a Mini that might live in the garage a little bit more than it does on the road, and might not be as good at keeping a charge on your battery. And that's something called a trickle charger. Now the one that I have in this picture here is something called a battery tender. That's a company here in the US, but basically what this does is it plugs into your regular home outlet and then allows your home power to charge your car and charge your battery. This keeps it at a stable charge and doesn't overcharge it. The neat thing is, though, is that this cable in front here, that can actually be installed on the leads of your battery permanently. So when you pull your car up into the garage, you simply unplug the piece at the end there, and then you allow it to plug into the wall charger. Pretty cool. Now this next tool might feel a bit obvious, but a floor jack is something that is absolutely one of the best tools I have in my shop here. The one that I'm showing you here is a low profile, high rise floor jack, which I'll post in the links below. This one is a little bit more expensive than you might find the other floor jacks are. But the reason I like this floor jack so much is that it lifts the car up really, really high, so it's easier for me to get underneath it. And keep in mind, you do need 2 floor jacks at minimum to support the car. Having 4 on hand is really nice to have as well. If you don't want to spend as much money as I did on this jack here, you can always pick up a lightweight aluminum jack. I'll put both of those links in the description below, as well as the jack stands that you see here, just in case you don't necessarily want one of these high-rise jacks, despite it being really, really nice. Now next up here we have a multimeter. This is one of those tools that's incredibly nice to have when you're searching for all of those little electrical gremlins that are notorious in Classic Minis. Thanks, Lucas. Now, this tool is used for measuring voltage as well as resistance. The one I have here can do a wide range of stuff, but the great thing about having a nicer multimeter is you often end up with a set of leads that are also a little bit nicer. So you have things like little clamps on them, or you can remove these and have just little poker leads that you might be more used to when seeing a multimeter. Now the nice thing about a multimeter is what it does is it allows you to measure voltage as well as voltage drop and resistance between 2 different things. In this case, we'll measure this battery right here, and we can see that the battery has about 13 volts of power, which is great. This battery is in great condition. So we can connect up these chargers here for our battery, and this is now charging this battery. As we can see here, we've got a little bit higher voltage now because it is being charged by the outlet over to the right of this camera. So it's nice to have. This will allow you to find things like short circuits in your car as well, and parasitic drain. Now getting into the top 3 tools of your Classic Mini toolbox, this one right here is a torque wrench. This is a tool that every person who's working on a car and wants to do the job properly should purchase for themselves. Now, the one that I have pictured here is a 150 foot-pound torque wrench. However, I would strongly recommend picking up one that goes all the way to 200 foot-pounds, maybe even 250. That will give you the full range of torques that are on the Classic Mini. And then if you really want to, you can supplement this with a breaker bar, which you can see behind. That is going to allow you the additional torque to break off nuts that might be a little bit harder to get off. Now there's a few different types of torque wrenches. The one you see here is a twist style setting torque wrench. There are some that are digital, which are very, very nice, and they give you an audible beep when you reach a torque spec. The one here is a little bit more manual, a little bit simpler. You twist it to set your torque setting, and then you torque your bolt down, no problems, no issues. Now, if you wanted to upgrade to get a little bit nicer one, you could switch this out for a digital style torque wrench, which will then allow you a little bit more direct and accurate readings when you're torquing things down. Now, number 2 on the list is one of probably the most important tools in your Classic Mini, and that is an Imperial set of sockets and spanners or wrenches. Now, the ones on the left here you'll see are the Imperial set. I do recommend having both a deep and a shallow set of sockets. Now, as far as the wrenches go, you'll actually only really need 3 specific sizes: 7/16, 1/2 inch, and 9/16. I would go ahead and pick up a whole set, but if you only wanted to start out with a few, these 3 are going to knock out most of the bolts that are on your Classic Mini. The last thing I'll mention about these sockets, on the right side you'll see I do have a metric set as well. As the Minis got a little bit older, if you have a later Mini, you might find that there are more metric bolts on it, and they started introducing a little bit more of the metric system on it. So having a set of metric sockets on a later car is definitely something that I would recommend. Also, it's probably easier to find a metric set in some places of the world. All right, it's time for the number 1 tool. Now, before I say this, any guesses at what number 1 is going to be? Post it in the comment section and then you can compare it to what I am about to tell you guys. The number 1 tool, from my perspective, is patience. Having patience while working on your Classic Mini is going to help you guys really, really get the jobs done right, and it's also going to save your mental sanity a little bit. The Classic Mini is one of those cars that really tests the patience of someone who hasn't done jobs on a car before. Mostly in that when you get into some jobs, you'll find it's like pulling a thread on a shirt. As you start to pull it, more threads come undone, more threads come undone. And that's kind of the nature of these cars, in part because some of the materials they were originally produced with aren't really that great, but also a lot of these cars are really starting to get older. So as things age, things start to deteriorate, and a smaller job that you might find on a newer car, like, I don't know, changing the brakes, can kind of evolve into something that might have to change your wheel bearings or replace your ball joints. You know, jobs tend to grow a little bit with the Classic Mini, and having the patience while working on those will help you learn more as you're starting to work on the car, but it's also going to help you enjoy working on the car a little bit better. Now, unfortunately, patience isn't something you can purchase. It is something that you gotta kind of learn and get used to. But in my experience, and having worked on this car for almost 12 years now, patience has given me the ability to make videos like this, because some of these videos take weeks to make in relation to the simplest jobs. Taking the car from drums to discs, if you were to do it yourself or maybe do this job on a newer car, it would be, you know, maybe a day, 2 days. When you're filming it or when you're really working on something that's old, that 1-day job can turn into a week-long job pretty quickly. So I hope you guys enjoyed my list, my top 10 list of tools. Again, if you guys have any suggestions of tools that maybe I missed, or something that you would want to recommend that maybe other people wouldn't think about, post those in the comment section below. So that is going to wrap up this episode. And until I see you guys again, and until the next episode, enjoy those minis and motor on.